This is not here for drama. This is here for how we show up better when drama appears to us. So this is just kind of like the process that I went through. I hope that it's helpful to you as you encounter situations such as this. What's happening in my body, even like telling you the story right now, is that I'm seizing up. I can feel my gut seizing. I can feel my heart starting to race. What I'm feeling is this like wave of expectation and of judgment and of this old story from kind of my own perfectionism and maybe an upbringing where I interpreted that I had to do things right all the time, or that I could do things wrong, that I could be a disappointment, that I had to live up to people's expectations, that they got to set the terms for what I was supposed to live up to, and then I was supposed to show up in the way that would make other people look a certain way or that would make other people feel a certain way. That's the background drop of what informed my nervous system. To Thrive Hive Show. I am Hannah Kirkpatrick, and I just wanted to try something a little off script today. Of course, here's my puppy trying to come and say hello while we're filming. How sweet. So you guys often ask me, people in my realms often ask me to share some process that's going on with me. One of the biggest things that I'm doing constantly is trying to up-level how I relate to others, how I relate to myself, how I show up for me, how I show up for my family, how I show up in my relationship, in my businesses, in all of the different aspects of life. And I'm constantly looking for how can I grow through this rather than just go through this. And so I wanted to just share a little bit of the process that I went through recently. And this last week, I joined a new women's group. It came as a calling to me because I live in the Dominican Republic now. And so I'm here most of the year, and it's kind of easy to isolate. So I got this kind of download in a meditation that I needed to join a group of women that had an accountability rhythm to it, where they meet on a weekly basis, they meet on a daily basis, and they stay connected. So it's really easy. I'm kind of what we would call an island woman. It's really easy for me to isolate and just to focus on my tasks and my family and my husband and really kind of just be in my own little realm. Anybody else? An island woman? I know that I'm not alone in that. And so what happened is that I got this clear, nudge that I needed to not isolate. And then the next day, I literally had someone use my calendar scheduler, jumped on a call with me at 9 a.m. and was like, by the way, I'm part of this cool women's group and I'd love to tell you about it. And I was like, I'm all ears. It's like remote, it's digital. I can do it from anywhere. There's a ton of women from all over the world, and it's about activating each other's dreams and weaving together to do that. So anyway, that's just the background. So I joined this group. And I then was traveling and we hosted a retreat, and then I completely forgot, kind of sequential order. And I get this message that I wanted to read to you. Of course, I'm not calling out names, y'all, so don't even ask. Okay. That's not what this is about. This is not here for drama. This is here for how we show up better when drama appears to us. So this is just kind of like the process that I went through. I hope that it's helpful to you as you encounter situations such as this. All right. So here's what I got. I got a message. Hey girl, I missed you on the call. I always think if people aren't going to be on the call, it's polite to tell the group. Anyway, I brought a new person and I sang a song for everyone. So I wrote back, I bet that was wonderful. Thinking like, I might be off the hook. What's happening in my body, even like telling you the story right now, is that I'm seizing up. I can feel my gut seizing. I can feel my heart starting to race. What I'm feeling is this like wave of expectation and of judgment and of this old story from kind of my own perfectionism and maybe an upbringing where I interpreted that I had to do things right all the time, or that I could do things wrong, that I could be a disappointment, that I had to live up to people's expectations, that they got to set the terms for what I was supposed to live up to. And then I was supposed to show up in the way that would make other people look a certain way or that would make other people feel a certain way, right? So that's the background drop of what informed my nervous system. So when I received this message, and this is something that I was liking, by the way, I've only been in this group for like a month, and I totally thought that we had a thing going. And so I was a little shocked. I was a little like disappointed that this was coming at me. It triggered my nervous system feeling all of this old stuff around how, like I already mentioned, And also, what it brought up for me, it was like immediately this, oh, what a cool opportunity here for growth. It was like this mirror for me to look into it and say, where is some truth in this? Like, could there be truth in this? And where might some truth in this be? And what I found is that I absolutely have a long history of avoiding responsibility in terms of consistent obligation, things that are required on a weekly basis, things that are required on a monthly basis, even things that I love to do, and drop something in the comments if you're the same way, but even things that I love to do, like going to the gym or going to a yoga class or really anything, going to a personal development meeting or a book club that's like self-help or personal growth or religious studies or, spirituality or whatever, anything that becomes regimented. What I've found is that since probably high school, I have learned to avoid. I pull back from the commitment. I tell them up front, like, no, I don't want to join because I don't want to disappoint you. And what's hysterical is that I literally told the woman who invited me to this group at the very beginning, I was like, look, yes, I could be an addition to your group. Yes, I will come open-hearted. Yes, I will come full of all of the service that I possibly can and love and vulnerability and support of all the women and all the things. And here's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid of this commitment. I travel a lot. I run businesses. I have a family, blah, 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 blah. And I don't want to disappoint you. And she was like, don't worry about it. We're all here to support each other. And she really kind of calmed me that it was going to be okay. And then if I missed a meeting, it wasn't a big deal. How does all of this play in? What happened here is that when this showed up, this woman's like judgment and aggression at me and severing of relationship and pointing a finger and you're doing it wrong, you need to straighten out and you need to be responsible to me as another group member and all this shit. I had a choice in this moment, and I'm offering the same choice to you, to take a look at whatever it is that's happening to you and be like, is this happening to me or is this happening for me? What is the opportunity to grow through this? What does it look like? Like, this is obviously a mirror that's reflecting back at me a piece that is still unhealed. And so I could look at this and be really mad. I could quit the whole group. I could just be like, screw this. If they don't get me and they don't see my value and they're going to be meh at me, I don't need them. I could do that, but I really like the group and I like the women and I like the idea of it. And it was called into my life for a specific reason. And I trust that. I trust the magic. I know it is where I'm meant to be. I felt a sacred yes the very first time that I spoke to these women. So I was like, okay, that's not it. I'm not just going to check out and run, like, off the table. Next option is to feel sorry for myself and to just go into like shrink mode and then apologize, to like do the fawn thing, like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'll try to do better in the future, right? And what happens there is that because that isn't true for me in this moment, that would be a crazy ass act of self-abandonment. If you've watched any of my videos over this last year, 2025 was a massive upheaval for me and a shedding of this pattern of self-abandonment. I didn't even know that term beforehand. And it has absolutely given me so many opportunities to practice doing the opposite of that now in my life. I've practiced creating boundaries with my family, not out of harm, not out of a punitive thing, but out of just a pure protection thing. I've practiced having solid conversations with family members that I've never done before, where I was very clear with them. I don't need you to fix it. I don't need you to problem solve it. I don't need you to even agree with it. I just need you to hear me, right? And then express how I was feeling, regardless of the reaction. That, my friends, those are examples of not self-abandoning. Self-abandoning in a situation like this would be the thing that I described. That's like, if I just came to her and was like, oh, I'm so sorry, or it would be lying about it. It would be a lack of honest communication. Oh, this happened or that happened. Like, quite frankly, this last time when I didn't show up, y'all, I totally forgot. I'd been running around. I had the kids. I had it in my calendar. I don't know. It didn't ding. I didn't hear it. It's not part of my regular routine yet. And I just freaking forgot. And so I could lie. That's an option. It's not an option for me anymore, but it's an option in terms of if you're considering what you're going to do in this situation, right? So like, I'm sitting here going through all of it and being like, all right, the next bet the one that feels really good to me, that feels like an aliveness inside of me, is to really dig in and be like, cool, this is an opportunity not just to handle this one situation, but to do the deep work in me to finally heal this thing that has been haunting me like since high school. What thing in you has been a pattern that's been haunting you since high school? What's the thing that keeps coming up? Instead of deflecting it or stuffing it or people pleasing or self-abandoning in some way or running away and quitting the group, right? Whatever your reaction has been to that thing, I get it. I honor it. And the other thing too is to not shame ourselves and judge ourselves because of how we've handled these things in the past. I have a long history of being incredibly self-judgmental. And that chapter is done. All of those chapters, they're done. They're closed. It's not going to happen again in my future. Instead, what I'm declaring is that I can honor the self-protecting parts of me that developed these tools of either blaming or shaming or running or stuffing or whatever, that there's the part of me that loves me and wanted to protect me from anyone else and, from self-harming behaviors. And so I learned those techniques. And here's what's up with this or with addiction or with anything else is it's not that we're bad. It's not that we're wrong. It's that those techniques once really served us and they just don't serve us anymore. They become harmful at some point in time. Like, the law of diminishing returns where you get benefit. And then at the top, it's like, oops, that's no longer working for you. And then the benefit decreases to the point where it's becoming now harmful. Well, that's where we're sitting with a lot of these behaviors. And so I was like, okay, thank you, old me, for trying to protect me through these behaviors. And today that ends. Today I'm going to figure out and I'm going to absolutely alchemize this situation of the responsibility and the judgment and the heaviness and the showing up and all of the things related to all of that. So here's what I did. So I was leaving for the day. I dropped what happened and I dropped what my goals were into ChatGPT. And I was like, all right, help me work through this. Work through it in the psychological, the spiritual, the neuroscience, and even my rebel tendency. If you guys haven't done the work on the 4 tendencies by Gretchen Rubin, the 4 tendencies work, it's maybe a decade old now, but oh my goodness, so enlightening. And what I learned in her work is that I have this rebel tendency. And so that plays into how I often can't make myself even show up for obligations that I want to show up for. So I dropped all of that into chat, and my chat now really knows me because I use it as a deep tool and for growth in so many different ways. And so I was like, help me to learn, give me some names for the pattern, help me to learn what I'm doing and where it's coming from and how I can shift it and how I can shed it and how I can change the story around it, how I can shift my belief systems around this situation so that I can show up as the next level version of me. So when I'm saying this, because when I'm saying to all of you guys on my interviews and whatever, it's about showing up as the next level version of you, and that's possible for you. This is the behind the scenes, pull back the curtain look at how we're actually quantum leaping into the next versions of us. And I felt that this week. I'm a different version of me and how I show up to situations this week because of this work. So that is your invitation. So I put it into chat. I had a really busy day. I kept checking it when I would go to the bathroom, I would go to read it for 5 minutes and sneak away. Or if I had to walk to my car, I would pull out my chat and read it. And oh my goodness, the insights were incredible, and I'm not going to get into all of that stuff because that's kind of personal to my story. And I'm not sure that it will serve you because that's processed for that specific thing. That being said, if anybody wants a video on that specific thing, just let me know. I'm happy to walk you through it. But as it relates to this topic, when I went through that process and I was like, okay, cool, here's my mirror work. I'm really excited to be doing my deep shifting. That happened over the day. Then I come home to this at night. No response to this. She says, I want to like you. I want to trust you. But right now I don't. This is the message I get after I've been doing this personal growth work and being like, okay, I can shift. all day long, I come back to this. So instantly what happens is that, again, my nervous system contracts. Now I'm starting to feel angry, right? Now I'm starting to have the movement into like, who does this person think she is, right? And I'm feeling disrespected. I'm feeling not seen. I'm feeling really really stepped upon. What's the word for that? Entranced upon? Is that a word? I don't know. I'm feeling really like encumbered. I'm feeling really violated at this point because it's not this woman's job to police me and to police my attendance. It's just not. I never committed to being there on every single meeting, right? So there's lots of different reasons why this is like really kind of getting me. I would say triggering me, but that's a little overused at this stage in the game. But triggered in a way that I take responsibility for my trigger. That's the difference. So anyway, it brought up all this great stuff. Here's what I did. So I dropped this back into my ChatGPT. I told it exactly what the woman said, and it gave me this response that then I tweaked and I changed until it really, really, really worked for me. And it sounds like me and it feels like me in the highest version of me. Here's what I didn't want it to be. I didn't want it to be an attack. I didn't want it to like point the finger back at her. I didn't want to point out her flaws. I didn't want to be aggressive, and I didn't want to be a doormat. I didn't want to be unclear about my expectations of the group. And I didn't want to be unclear about the fact that like if I needed to shift something, because I'm new, I wanted to be humble. And I wanted it to also say, and if I'm misunderstanding something about expectations, I'm more than happy to go back and have a conversation with the people that I need to have the conversation with, which is the leaders of the group and not you, right? So I didn't want to burn the bridge. I didn't want to blow up this relationship. And I also didn't want to be a doormat. So here is the fun part. Here's what I came up with. And I'm going to read it to you because I hope that you can find categorically pieces in it that will help you to potentially create communication with people in the future when things go a little sideways like this, that is serving and that's loving and that's boundaried and kind, but also it stands up for you at the same time. And it's humble. It's all the things. All right. So here you go. And by the way, I cleared this with the two leaders of the group before I sent it. I just wanted to let them know, here's what's happening. I'm not trying to get you to fix my problems or to, fight my battles. I'm not asking for your complete approval and validation. I'm pretty confident that this is how I want to handle the situation, but out of respect to you in the leadership, I just wanted to check in with you and see if there's anything else that I should know. I'm open to your realignment of my expectations, and I really wanted to let them know, like, I'm wanting to be a valued part of this group, and this didn't really land so well with me. So help me to do it in a way that is going to be a cohesive thing for the group. And, I'm here for the growth. So here's what we got. And I hope that this serves you for your next situation. Because they said, by the way, the leaders said they loved it and send it. And so I did. And the next piece after I sent it, by the way, and I know you're like totally on the edge of your seat to hear the message, but it was to relinquish the outcome. To know that I did my part and my best to bring out my intentions of love and all the things we talked about. And then to let go of attachment to whatever her response was going to be. And here's the difference where it gets into codependency and to people pleasing is when they respond and then I go, and you try to like mitigate what their response is or whatever. So my deal was like, this is my piece, and detaching from whatever her reaction was going to be. Like kind of like a kid, when a toddler if they're going to throw a tantrum, you let them sit and throw the tantrum and you say, I love you. I'm here for you. When you're ready for a hug and to return to me, I got you. I'm here for you. That's the kind of vibe that I was going to be giving. And I encourage you strongly, when you set a boundary like this, know in your heart, have the intentionality that you are not going to be reactive to whatever their response is. You're going to stay in your sovereignty, and then you will manage the next step as it comes. But all right, here we go. With no further ado. Hey, love, I want to respond from a grounded place because your messages brought up a lot for me. Not in a bad way, but in a way that's connected to my own healing around expectation, performance, and disappointing others. This is actually the exact portal I've been leaning into, so I'm grateful for the mirror. I also really see that your message came from a place of care for the group and wanting to maintain connection and momentum. I honor that. Your devotion and heart for this group is felt. For me personally, I want to be really clear. By the way, I had never said that in communication before. It's kind of badass. I want to be really clear. When I joined, I shared openly that I travel often, run multiple businesses, and raise 3 kids. And I was told, quote, come when you can, end quote. I didn't understand there to be required attendance or that missing a meeting would be interpreted as impolite or untrustworthy. That kind of expectation touches an old wound for me and doesn't support my nervous system or my ability to participate in a healthy way. If I misunderstood any expectations upon joining, I'm absolutely happy to clarify with the elders, but that conversation is between me and them. I show up when I can with a full heart. And when I can't, it's never personal or harmful, just the reality of my life and season. So moving forward, I want to set clean expectations. Again, badass move, right? Never did this before. I'm a fluid, intuitive participant, not a weekly guaranteed presence. And I'm okay with that. If that doesn't align with what you hoped for from me specifically, we can absolutely explore what alignment looks like. And just as a gentle reminder, I've learned that another group is the place for check-ins and attendance updates, not this particular chat. If there's ever something logistical like this, that is the space that I will share in as needed. I value the circle and I value clean, loving communication. I'm here, just not in a way that includes pressure, guilt, or implications about my character. Thank you for understanding. I look forward to beautiful connections. Heart emoji. So yeah, that was that. How do you imagine that she responded to that? Just curious. Was she explosive? Was she defensive? Was she judgy? Was she feeling, a myriad of different ways? Well, here's what happened. Not that it matters, because again, her response to it is really not of my business. It's not of my concern. That's her own triggers, her own wounding. I did my very best to show up in a way that I could. Well, the win is that she showed up with vulnerability, with humility, and she admitted that she had projected some pain points from other people and other recent situations that were making her feel really unsafe. She projected them on me. She projected a lack of safety in her life on me. And she admitted this in her message back to me. She said, thank you so much for showing up, for doing your part, for, holding up this mirror to me. I realize now that it's not you, that it's me. I realize that by the way that you communicated this to me. I'm really sorry that I made you feel, slighted in that way. And the other thing is she gave me the nicest compliment by saying, I really just wanted you here. I was bringing a new person and I wanted them to meet you and I wanted your support, essentially. And it mattered to me that you were there. And that felt really tender to me. So my response back to her was one of tenderness. Dude, it's crazy because years ago, my response would have been purely combative. Well, screw her and blah, 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 blah. And this time I could find our common thread was that it mattered that we have this beautiful connection and she wanted to be held. And it actually was a compliment, right? That she wanted me to be there. It came to me as arrows, but what it really was a desire to connect. And so I responded in that place, like, hey, I'm really flattered that you want me to be there as you introduce new people to our group. And I'm happy to support you. Just do me a favor. Like, what would work for me in the future? If it matters a lot to you that I'm there, I want to try to meet that. So shoot me a direct message and let me know that this week, this is important to you. And I will do my best with that new information to try to prioritize my schedule. Like, how does that feel to you? I want to try to honor you and meet you where you are, essentially. And I need data. I need information to be able to make that decision so I can shift around all the pieces to try. I can't promise anything, but to try to meet your need. And that's the best that I can do. So I guess the cool part of all of this and the takeaway for you is really just when we get super honest in our loving, boundaried communication, we're giving the other person the ability to then feel into it and be like, what can I meet here? Where can I find commonality? And where are my boundaries? And then they can express back to us with honest, clear, loving communication, those things. Then when they do that, the ball's back in our court and we can analyze again what their needs are. How can I meet that? How can I not meet that? What feels authentic to me and in alignment with who I am and who I'm showing up as and who I want to be in my next iteration in the world, right? And then we can honestly drop that back to them. So it's this nice like tennis match, kind of this like back and forth thing in this communication. And what ended up being was that I told her that, and I said, I accept your apology. I'm looking forward to, being able to move forward and continue growing together in this group. And so we actually connected more, believe it or not, by the way that this was handled, by both of us, by each of us. Her response, which was vulnerable, and she told about other things that were happening in her life, even outside of this group. And then I could meet her there and say, hey, and by the way, if you're feeling like you need some extra support in any other way in life, like I'm just one message away. You can shoot me a message and I'm happy to do a one-on-one with you. If you're not, like driving with everyone in the group or whatever, like just let me know how I can support you. And I'm going to do my best to show up. And so what a crazy gift that something that starts as a challenge and as aggression at us, with the right tools and the right mindset and willingness to show up differently, not only can we avoid big drama and big breakups and big pulling away from things and perpetuating the patterns that we've always done of like pulling away or screw you or I'll shrink, but we literally legit can change how we operate starting today. We can use it's crazy, but we can use the AI as a beneficial tool to help us do that. We can reach out to others. We can read crucial conversations. We can read internal family systems. We can study their work. We can study nonviolent communication. We can ask our ChatGPT, like I do, to amalgamate all of that information and those technologies into communication styles that will have the desired result that we're looking for, and be clear about that desired result. So anyway, I hope that was helpful to you. I hope that there were some takeaways in there about how you can tactically take a situation of like in your life and you can turn it into something that you grow through, not just go through. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to heal and grow and thrive together. And I just wish you all of the best today. Mwah.